And what you see as particularly with your second period class, where again, just for the purposes of people watching this video, students are assigned to this class if they have a reading level below a certain grade level, no matter what other class they're in. So you have a couple of students, or maybe just one student that's also in your first period mainstream class, that's also in the second period reading on the Rise class, or is it more than one?
I have 3 students.
Oh, 3 students.
Who are in both my first period mainstream class,
right,
who are also in the second period reading support class.
Right, reading support. Right.
In 5th period, there are maybe 5 or more of those same students from the second period class.
Right, because of these 2 weeks of full-time teaching. So my question is, what is the connection that you see between a student experiencing success in reading, understanding what they've read, in the present context, understanding what the different points of view are on trophy hunting, and being able to articulate them in an essay. What's the connection between that experience of success and what you called enjoying learning? That sort of broader topic of enjoying learning.
So in this unit, students have been asked not to include their opinion, but I guess
first thing Angel did, of course.
Yes, of course. That's the thing. Like, they know that they can give their opinion and it'll be right because that's their opinion.
Right.
And I'm so glad that they enjoy sharing that with each other and with me, with Miss Grogan. I think that that's useful, getting all of their thoughts out and, in some cases, filtered so that they can do the task that I've asked them to do.
Right. So part of the progress toward writing an essay that basically explains what 2 points of view are, you also either have actively encouraged or have just recognized that students needs to know or enjoy saying what their opinion is.
There's been a lot of unstructured conversation lately, just because they don't need to include that in their writing.
Right.
So I've encouraged them, talk to the people at your table, find out what their opinion is, whether or not it aligns with what's presented in the article.
Right.
And then move forward from what you've noticed. What are the differences between the people in the article?
Right.
You've noticed what the differences are between your opinion and the article, but now look in the article, what's there?
Right.
So there's still that tie-in, even a buy-in to the topic at hand, and it's encouraging them to some extent, think critically, not just about their opinion and the reasoning in the article, but when you're comparing the two in the reading, it really forces a lot of the students who struggle to pay closer attention to what we've been looking at in our instructional unit. The screen is down right now, but we have an outline on the whiteboard that students will reference frequently, so that they can make sure that they have the same information that they need from the article in their writing.
Right.
I hope that was clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
What have you noticed, particularly in the second period class, about both students' engagement in the tasks that you set for them, as well as their sense of confidence in themselves as readers and responders to what they read?
Well, because our district assessment is next Tuesday, students have had just a little bit more than a week to get prepared for it.
Right.
So there is not a lot of confidence in the classroom right now.
Right.
The graphic organizer that we've been using is supposed to help them. In each of the boxes, there's a number that tells the student the chronological order their writing should be in.
Right.
So they have the quote that they'll include, and then their explanation of the quote and why it's significant, and then they're going to compare the first quote to a second one from the other claim. While we were going through the organizer, a lot of misconceptions arose. I realized that a lot of students were just including information from one claim instead of comparing the two in one paragraph. And that's why Ms. Grogan and I decided to use this organizer instead of one that we had been using previously.
Got it. Yeah.
And there are some students who do feel confident with a number of different tasks without a lot of scaffolding. Brendan is a very bright student. Logan and Arthur are also very bright. Very ambitious, perhaps is a better word. And of course, there are a lot of students who kind of fall into a middle category. They have questions, but just clarifying questions. They understand the heart of the task. And those students are easier to redirect compared to the students who understand perhaps the main goal, but not the scaffolded steps that they need to accomplish in order to get there. So it's a mix. There are some confident students, but there are definitely a lot of students who still struggle.
And then one final question, and it comes out of my observations at the very beginning of this semester, again with the second period reading on the Rise class, where they were reading a description of what was called the Battle of Chelsea Creek. And I was just pointing out that the article was quite poorly written, but it also was, because it was 4 or 5 years old, it actually didn't reflect the knowledge that we know now of that particular dig, that particular architectural dig. But what I was noticing primarily was that there seemed to be a disconnect between the content of that article and what I would call the likely interests among the students. It not only was difficult to read because it was difficult in its presentation, but it was difficult to read because it wasn't likely that topic was going to be terribly engaging for the student. So I noticed that the sort of the opposite thing was going on, at least among the students at the table that I was talking to. They were quite engaged with Cecil, and whether they were in favor of the people who supported the protests against the killing of Cecil. So it seemed to me that there had been more thought, perhaps on your part, perhaps in collaboration and conversation with Colleen, about the choice of the topic to write about, even though students won't have that choice when they have the district-wide assessment, unfortunately.
With our practice assessments, it's really easy for, like I just explained, how the small steps can get in the way. But if the students are motivated to work through those things, then it shows in their writing. It shows in the work that they produce. So, yeah, we definitely made an intentional decision to choose something with animals, because we know 8th graders that love animals. And Colleen actually found this article. It was a good choice.
And I think and a good article, because as it turned out, the arguments for and against trophy hunting were much more compelling than I would have thought, just from hearing the protests in favor of the sort of using the killing of Cecil as a way to say trophy hunting really should be abolished. And when I talked to Angel about it, we were talking, and he said, yes, he also, agrees that trophy hunting should be abolished. I said, I did too, but look at that final paragraph where someone who studied lions all his life says, yes, you abolish trophy hunting, and it's not going to be too long before you're going to see the extinction of lions, because the funding for those trophy hunting excursions are so important to the maintenance of the habitat, and just the ability of villagers to tolerate having a lion.
If they know that they're going to see some trickle down of the money, then there's some incentive to hold on to those.
And without that incentive, there's no reason not to poison the lion, because the lion's destroying your crops. So fascinating. So anyway, just as one final stepping back, as you see yourself going forward, what are you saying to yourself about what you're bringing to the classroom, as far as being able, as you will increasingly be able to do, defining the climate of the classroom and setting goals for yourself and your students that are clear and compelling?
I
Yeah,
am
it's a little
still
frightening.
working on the goals. Still
Right.
working on the goals.
Uh-huh.
I think at this point the biggest thing that I
Uh-huh.
can bring to the
Uh-huh.
classroom is probably enthusiasm
Mhm.
and compassion.
Mhm.
Especially with this age group. They're
Yeah.
constantly
Yeah.
bickering
Yeah.
or teasing each other. Or, I don't even know what goes on in this classroom half the time.
Right.
I don't know how to put it into words.
Right,
I don't know what it is.
Right.
But when I was sometimes I would teach
Uh-huh.
5th and 6th period earlier,
Uh-huh.
just for the experience of doing so.
Right.
And I found that 5th and 6th would often be rather wary or cautious
Mhm.
when approaching me to ask questions or for follow-up, that kind of thing.
Right.
But in my 2 weeks of teaching, I've taken on a more lighthearted persona, maybe a little bit more engaging and enthusiastic,
Right.
kind of campy. I know that's not the right
Yeah.
word, but
having observed you, I
yes.
actually know exactly what you
Yeah,
mean.
yeah. So,
But
and-
cafe comes close, actually. Yeah.
yeah, but they've really responded. 5th period, especially, they're really on task. Usually, they're one of the classes that tend to fall behind.
Right. Right.
So,
yes, I remember you saying.
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
but they've been doing fairly good this week, and
Yeah.
I'm proud of them.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Krista. And just to reiterate what Colleen and I were saying at the beginning, the growth that I've seen in you as a teacher from the beginning of the semester to now has been just tremendous, and it's really been satisfying
Thank
to
you.
observe. So.